Hi everyone, welcome back to the Proposal Pulse. My name is Rachelle Ray and I'm the head of AEC Marketing Innovation here at OpenAsset. And I'm super excited because today I'm joined by a very special guest, Eric Liou, our Chief Product Officer. Eric, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Rochelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Liou. Again, I am the Chief Product Officer here at OpenAsset, and I'm currently leading product vision, strategy, and working very closely with Rochelle on how we redefine kind of proposal management and help empower the AEC marketers.
Awesome. Eric is going to be talking to us about AI today. So I've got a bunch of hot questions to ask you. We're going to start with the obvious one. AI is everywhere lately. Can you give us like a really simple breakdown of what we need to know about AI? Like specifically, can you unpack learning language models and how they kind of tie into AI for like what are we talking about with LLM?
Yeah, obviously very much a hot topic. And so I think lately when most people talk about AI today, they typically mean generative AI. So really any type of artificial intelligence that generates net new content, like text, like images, like videos, for example. But AI as a whole has kind of been around for like many decades at this point, really since like the 1950s. So in the past, when we talked about AI, we're really talking about more like traditional machine learning models, like classification models, natural language processing models, computer vision models. But ever since, OpenAI released ChatGPT in November of 2022, that's when AI and generative AI got thrusted into like the public stratosphere and like the mindset of everyone these days. So typically these days, when AI is mentioned, we're really talking about generative AI in the form of large language models, small language models, multimodal models, or multi-agent systems. So that's typically kind of the lay of the land in terms of like what we mean today when a lot of people talk about AI.
Thank you for that and for the reminder that AI is not really new. Technically, it's lived in our pockets for quite a while, right? Like Siri and Google's Assistant and stuff, which is
Yeah,
really cool.
absolutely. A perfect example of this, more on the traditional AI side, are like recommender systems. So when you're perusing like Netflix or Amazon and they recommend like other content or shows to watch or like other products that you might like, all of those are kind of still in the realm of like more in the traditional AI side.
I love it. I love my recommended. I've clocked my algorithm on Netflix and all of my music systems. So thank you to the AIs. Next question. There's also a lot of excitement, obviously, around AI, but there's also a lot of fear, specifically around AI and AEC marketing. Can you walk us through some of like the biggest misconceptions about AI?
Yeah, I would say the biggest misconception is that the AI will replace them at some point. And although generative AI is getting better every single day, we're probably still many decades away from artificial general intelligence, which many of you guys have heard the acronym AGI, right? So that's not happening anytime soon. So I think there's obviously some concern around marketers, but again, I just don't see that happening anytime soon. There's like an artistic ability and expressions that humans can obviously do that AI still has a hard time accomplishing and still struggles with. So I think the biggest misconception is that AI is going to advance so quickly and get so good that it'll eventually be able to completely mimic a human cognitive ability, which I think, like I mentioned, is just still many, many decades away.
I really appreciate the forecasting of decades because we see things. I think Perplexity released a study saying that you can get a bid down to like $800, which sounds very much like replacing the proposal writer and the human in the loop there. And that's really, really concerning and leads into our next question, which is that so many proposal writers worry that AI is going to replace their jobs. And so, do you have any tips on how they should be thinking about AI as like a tool and talking to leadership about how it's a tool and maybe not thinking about it so much as a threat to their role?
Yeah, 100%. I would say that we should probably think of AI right now as like a very smart, trusty companion rather than like a threatful replacement, for example. And that's kind of why a lot of like AI first products right now are being branded as like AI assistants or co-pilots, because really that's all that they're kind of quite capable of today. Not to say that they don't add immense value, they can definitely do a lot of things for sure, but it still requires a lot of human in the loop. It still requires a lot of hand holding and a lot of guidance from a human perspective. So, I think right now, I think looking at AI as more of a trusty companion or an assistant is probably the right categorization for what the AI platforms and products are able.
I love that. I tell people that it's like a really eager intern, like it wants to do a good job, but it's not always going to be great at it because it doesn't have your decades of experience. So
Totally.
that's
And I think it's
reassuring.
also a great way to give it like mundane tasks, like the things that you typically don't love doing or spend a lot of time doing, but it's very tedious and mundane. I think AI is really, really great at solving those things because they require less of that human heart and soul required to do good work.
That's sending emails for me. Just as an AEC marketer, I'm going to plug that one. Having to send all of my partnership emails like, we're inviting you to this team. AI is really good at that. So, looking ahead, now that we've laid the groundwork for AI, how do you see AI transforming the way that AEC teams approach proposals and proposal writing?
Yeah, in the theme of like leveraging AI as an assistant, I think they're really great at creative brainstorming and ideation, right? So a lot of times marketers don't always have the luxury of working with a large team where they can leverage them for sounding board ideas or brainstorming sessions. I think leveraging AI to just come up with some great ideas and being leveraged as kind of a brainstorming tool is kind of one way where I see AI could theoretically be involved in transforming how AEC teams approach proposal.
Do you have an example of that? Not to put you on the spot, but like thinking as an AEC marketer, what might that look like for me?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be ways to, I guess, maybe verbalize some of the ideas that you might have in your head. So if you have a really great idea, but you haven't quite thought about how to properly articulate it, I think AI can just give you some examples and options that can just kind of like generate ideas and like kickstart that creativity. So a less reliance on kind of a copy and paste, let's have this AI generate the entire content for me, completely, but more just as an ideation or a creativity tool to help kind of like spark that creative thinking.
I like that. I like the idea of using it as a sounding board rather than like the actual writer or the drafter of something.
Yeah.
That's a really cool way to think about that. Eric, thank you so, so much for joining us on the Proposal Pulse. That's all the time we have for today, but be sure to tune into part two, where we answer the rest of your highly requested AI questions.